A good conversation can shift the direction of change forever. Would you leave it to chance? Join the authors of Design to Change and explore this series of conversations with designers and event owners. Driven by the need and conversations with event owners and event designers who use the event canvas around the world, this series explores the depths of conversations to elevate your abilities to look and act beyond the now. Episodes are hosted by Ruud Janssen, Rolf Friesen, Dennis Lara, and Paul Rupes, with illustrious changemakers, designers, and pioneers in the field of design and beyond. To explore these conversations and additional content, visit designtochange.online. But now, let's start the conversation.
Okay, welcome back. This is Ruud Janssen, your host. And with me today, exactly a year and 3 days ago, we were sitting at a table in the Brook Street in Ottawa with this very same group of talented co-founders of that very event called TheEVENT. So welcome back to the podcast, Marie-France Watson, Tim Whalen, and
Hi.
Ryan Young.
Hello, thanks for having us back.
So a
Like
year
deja
has
vu.
passed. A year has passed and 3 days. I'm going to direct the question this time first to Marie-France. A good conversation can shift the direction of change forever. Would you leave it to chance?
No, but there is a little bit of chance involved. Things change from this year to last year. We had set things up for MPI to take over, and lots of things happened between then and now, and it still led us to a successful event in Fredericton. But there's a lot of unknowns in the world, so no, don't leave it to chance, but expect chance to maybe work its way back in.
How about you, Ryan? Would you leave it to chance?
No, I would agree. Absolutely not. I think you can set the direction for chance to come into places and maybe enhance certain aspects, but I always like to pave my own direction. And with these two hooligans, I think we've done a good thing. We did let chance come into play, but we had some strategy in place as well.
Yeah.
Secret weapons.
Tim, 60% confidence, 40%, you definitely winged it in this presentation, was part of your headshot analysis by AI on LinkedIn. Would you leave it to chance?
I think chance plays a role, but you have to force chance sometimes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we not let that roast slide a little bit? I read all those LinkedIn roasts right now, and yours is one of the best, Tim. I laughed so hard at that. It was so accurate, and that picture you put up to get roasted was iconic.
Would one of you care to read it out loud for those that are listening, right? You might actually want to click on the link that's going to be in the show notes to look at this image roast. But would one of you like to maybe share what the AI analysis thought of Tim's confident picture?
And by the way, we have to preface this by saying that the picture he chose is the picture of him on the stage along the two of us, but he cut us out, doing the solution room at the event
Right.
this year in 2025 in Fredericton, New Brunswick.
So for the
there
listeners,
is a link.
yeah. So for the listeners that are wondering, who are these people? What's this all about? What's the event? This is a podcast about event design. You are in the right place. No worries. You're dealing with the actual event creators right here, who created this event 8 years ago now. Am I saying that correct?
8 years ago, 7 editions.
Yeah. So you guys have collaborated a lot in creating this event. Although this last event, you guys were no longer the owners. You handed it over to MPI, Meeting Professionals International, who last year, for the first time, took it on, and Marie-France was the curator, as we could hear in last year's episode. But this year, you guys did absolutely nothing.
Oh, you can't say
closing
nothing.
session. No, I'm just
We were still there.
I'm provoking the conversation, right?
We keep trying to ditch it, but it's like a boomerang. It keeps coming back.
It keeps coming back. Okay, so maybe back to the roast of Tim. Who would like to read out the roast?
Yeah, there's a couple of key highlights. I love it. So it's the picture is Tim with a smirk wearing a mic, and so ChatGPT roasted him, and it starts by saying, "You look like the keynote speaker at a dad joke convention who just nailed his punchline," which is 100% true.
The best.
And then that mic makes it seem like you're either about to inspire a sales team or call a baseball game. Also true. His son plays a lot of ball.
You can see in my background.
Well, he's also wearing a baseball shirt, which we designed for the past editions of the event. So,
And then the shirt says the event, but your face says the after party.
I love it.
And then you've got strong motivational speaker energy, but also the vibe of someone who's selling me a big green egg grill in the parking lot. That smile, it's 60% confidence, 40% I definitely just winged this presentation.
Which is so on point. All they had to say was Dennis the Menace, and we would have been like a complete hat trick.
You would have known enough. You would have known enough. Now, all joking aside, you guys have been doing your own podcast for the longest time. However, it's sunset, so it's a limited edition podcast, right? You can look back
It's
at
still
that.
running. If people want to listen to it on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts,
Oh, it's still there. It's
it
locked
still
up
exists, and
in
people
history.
can go back down memory lane.
Exactly. So we're going to add that to this to the show notes as well. You can look at all of that stuff. But all kidding aside, let's hear from Tim for a second on, being in the closing act of the 2025 edition of The Event. What was that like?
Well, there was a number of feelings. It was great to, you had said we gave up the reins to the event, which is totally true. We, Global ran with it, and it was great to get to Fredericton and to play a small role still in that was great for us. And it was also great to be back on stage with Ryan and Mary Frances, as we had a few times in the past for the event and MPI, and to do our Rise Award and our keynote at WEC 2019. So it was great to kind of get the band back together again as well.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun together. I think we had a lot of fun prepping for it more than anything.
I think the encore team was, we were driving them nuts with our prep, our rehearsal, and making them run around and do stuff. But ultimately, I found getting back on stage with these two, there's a comfort level. Once the lights are on and the audience is the room is full, we just kind of all, I don't know, we're true to ourselves. And we think back to our keynote that we did at WEC, where we had some coaching training on that. Was really, really helpful. But it was just, again, like going back, we seemed to be a bit disorganized. And as much as Tim's roast, it was in there saying we just 40%, we just wing this. It was kind of true, but we spoke from the heart, and we had the solution room, which was a great tool that we were able to explore and kind of just, we're naturally ourselves, and let the audience enjoy that.
Yeah, we wanted people to understand, just like the event was created for event planners by event planners, the idea was to put the responsibility or the
onus.
The onus, like to a call to action back to the community and say, listen, Global's running with this, but this is your event, and you will make of it what you will. Just like we're doing here on stage, we're not reinventing something, but we're offering ideas and inspiration and trying things just like you. So, and talked a little bit about the origins, because some people were new. Well, I think half the room had been there before and are longtime fans of the event. I mean, part of the reason why this keeps going is people love it so much. And then that's the reason why we brought everybody on stage at the end, right? It's because the picture they used for the article is just us, but really it was about the whole team, everybody involved, because all those people in the audience will either become the future and volunteers or people working on this in the future, or they did contribute, which is what made it what it is today. So it really is about that collective, and I think some of the, I wouldn't say challenges, but some of the things that, like transitions, let's say, between it leaving maybe the volunteer and the chapters and going to MPI, it's important to reinforce that message moving forward, because they're just there to give it the backing and the boost and the engine and the financial backing that it always needed, so it could just be as big as they wanted to. And this year, it being in Fredericton really marked it becoming national. It doesn't live just within the 3 chapters anymore. We purposely didn't even talk about the 3 chapters. Not the origin story is important, but it's the future that's more important moving forward.
Yeah. And so for the listeners, if you're not familiar with the origin story, you can listen to last year's episode where they go into that at length, right? All 3 of our guests were each chapter presidents of their respective chapters, in Ottawa for Ryan, and Toronto for Tim, and in Montreal, Quebec for Marie-France. And together they decided to create an event which kind of brought together the communities from 3 chapters and then built now into something that's almost like a pan-Canadian event hosted or owned by MPI International.
It's what we hoped for, I think, from the beginning. I think yeah, we hoped for this, but we didn't, I don't know if we truly believe we'd get there, but I can't, like, I can't believe it sometimes that it's actually there now.
Yeah.
We actually alluded to it in the article with MPI. So you posted there about taking it to Fredericton. There was a big risk, or some people felt it was a big risk taking it to the 3 core chapters, and just from a location and transportation perspective. But ultimately, the destination, I'm sure we'll get into this more, absolutely killed it. But I think what's neat about that is we took the risk to take it outside of the core chapters, and now we've grown the community. I was looking back through some of the attendees, and some of the local planners from New Brunswick were there, and now you've kind of created this thing that's grown bigger than the original 3 chapters, like MF said, and we can continue to build this thing and build the community across Canada, not just our original chapters.
Yeah, what I thought was really, really telling as well is that taking it to Fredericton put a whole new spin on it, obviously, and being in a smaller community, and we took over the location. But as Ryan said, it actually changed the mix of attendees as well, and created a bit of a different feeling. But those same stories and the same connection were told again, which I felt was kind of cool. That it's a bit of a change of community, a bit of a different mix, but the belief of what the event is about still shone through, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, we definitely got the vibes. It was all there again.
Yeah. Now, Tim, we know from your last Horizons of Change, they were joking that, your ultra marathon was like giving birth, right? But did it feel like this edition of the event, was it like the post-event black hole that we all know, right? Like post-event, very often when you're putting on an event and you're doing this whole thing and then the event is over and then you fall into this black hole. Was it different this year than the years before because you trained for 7 years, or?
I don't know. I didn't feel that as much this year. I don't know why. I think part of it was because the feeling kind of continued and lasted on social media. It's still going on. Like there's still, like, I almost feel like that edition of the event isn't over yet. And I think that's a bit different from past years. Like
A lot more excitement post-event this year. Like everyone's excited to see now what comes next because it's totally reinvigorating.
I think last year maybe there was more apprehension. Apprehension because it was the first year that MPI took it over, and I think there was a lot of questions. Even like at the parties and stuff, people were like, "So what's happening?" And there was confusion, I think, about it. Not in a bad way, but just of not knowing.
The uncertainty, right? When you fear the unknown. You didn't know what was coming ahead. Now we feel like we're back on track with a solid direction.
Do you think the fact that MPI was already looking forward to next year prior to Fredericton played a role in that? That there was definitely next year. It hadn't been location decided yet, but it's going to come.
Like the back channel conversations became kind of the front channel conversations in the end because it's all the same crowd anyhow. Is that what you mean?
Well, no, just that, there was a solid plan for the next year already in place and the ball was rolling for 2026.
Yeah.
I think that may have changed the feeling a little bit more that, hey, we're,
Yeah, and to be clear, we don't know where we're going in 26, but it's been announced it's going somewhere new. That's as much as MPI has leaked. It's going to be somewhere the event has not been before, which is exciting because they're like, oh, which destination is it going to be next? And will they be able to keep up to Fredericton after the job they did? Now you've got that friendly competition built up again.
We may or may not have hints about where that might be, but we'll never.
And I find it a little funny. This may be revealing a little too much information, but when the RFP came out, I didn't feel an overwhelming response. But now I hear through the back channels that there are destinations that are kind of fighting and trying to get a leg up on certain years. And it's completely changed in a matter of 2 months where they're like, well, we only had one response and we're trying to get these guys on board. And now it's like I'm hearing of destinations trying to get in line. Which is
and that's Fredericton. That is Fredericton doing a proof of concept.
Yes, you're right.
The concept that like, hey, like this can carry on and it can be amazing and you can really showcase your destination. I think that there was a lot of like healthy friendly competition going on, and that's what got people riled up about it. So, like, it worked. I mean, that's where events are so powerful. Like, see, pre-event, no response. Event happens, it shoots up like crazy. I mean, that's amazing.
I don't want to say no
So
response. There was some response.
Okay, there was some response. I was being hyperbolic.
this is also one of our core concepts coming to life, which I think dwindled a little bit over the last couple of years, where
Yeah.
now the destination is fully embracing it, and it's like they're part of the experience versus we're going to X city, it's at a hotel. Now it's like, it's part of the whole experience journey from the second you land in the destination to the second you leave, and actually not even the second you leave because it continues on social media, like Tim said. And so we have this buy-in again.
Yeah, the East Coast saved the day once again with all the charm.
And I think this is an interesting proof of concept where it used to cycle between the three chapters as the originators, but now it's spreading into the full country technically, right? And
Well, and think
if you
about
look,
it, right? Like
mm,
it went through the cycle. So there was a lot of novelness. Is that a word? I don't know. There was a lot of like newness of like, oh, it's going through the three chapters. But then right afterwards, and it was post-pandemic, and it was right after, there was kind of like a dip, for lots of reasons. It was just really hard. Like it was still a really hard time to get things back on track. And also, the event lost direction a little bit. We didn't know where it was going anymore,
Mhm.
right? We had a lot of like conversations, and we had left our leadership roles in these respective boards, and all these things kind of happened. And so like it did waver, and I think that translated in the event and also in the context of post-pandemic.
mm,
And anyways, just to say that it's back on the upswing, and it's super exciting to see this whole new cycle.
yeah.
Um, it's interesting to look back in hindsight because it's hard to see it in the moment. That's all I mean.
Yeah, and you guys now have this opportunity to zoom out of like almost a decade of the event, right? From its inception to its first iteration to last year's looking back at the origin story. This year, you guys
Well,
doing a closing keynote that also in its origin story features the participants that, this concept came from 2011 from the European Meetings and Events Conference. Let's zoom into those last 90 minutes for a second, if we can, just to jog the memory of those people that have been, but also maybe the people that haven't been. Can you explain what actually happens in the solution room and why it's different maybe from what people have seen at other events?
Well, I think that the solution room really mirrored our journey a little bit. I mean, that the solution room isn't ours; it isn't created by us. We were the I guess the springboard for the event. But the solution room is something that I don't even like to call it a keynote because it's not really a keynote per se. It turns the onus on individuals, and we basically facilitated the process so that they could explore some of the ideas that they learned during the event and leave with a solid plan with the assistance of the peers around them of how they can implement that back in their daily life. So I thought it was kind of cool. I don't like to call it a keynote because it's not really. People think keynote, we're standing up there, like I said, on stage talking about our mountain climbing journeys or singing and inspiring people. And we said when we were on stage, this isn't about us. We're not here to inspire you. We're here to facilitate you inspiring yourself.
Yeah.
So a lot of that connects back to our journey through the event, and that we always claimed that the experts were not on this. Well, they were on the stage, but not fully on the stage. The experts are all around you at the event. It's the people next to you in breakouts. It's people that you're eating dinner with. It's time to tap into that. Don't wait for, Sebastian Sasso to take the stage before you're inspired by someone.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool that even though we didn't create the solution room, that kind of mirrored that philosophy that we've always had for the event.
I would also argue, Tim says we weren't there to inspire, and I see MF kind of shaking her head like, well, I think we'd had a little bit of inspiration, but really we were more bringing the best out of what people already had around them.
Yeah.
Well, we're walking the walk of what we always set out to do, I think. And look, year over year, we tried things and we failed, and we also like, I don't know, we invited the sponsors to be the experts and the keynote presenters, and we invited the presenters to become the participants, and we played in the sandbox and we did things that failed, like name badges that ripped. But then now they have nowhere rip paper now, and that, I'm sure that was invented after the event. the no tear
As a
papers
result
for
of the
this.
event.
As the result, I'm sure of it.
I
Good
think we
job,
should
Brad.
trace that back. Yeah, I think we should
No,
trace
I'm
that
You guys
back.
thought it was a bad idea.
But the idea is that we tried all these things, and we always wanted that peer-to-peer learning was always so important. And we did it in different iterations over the years. We tried different things, some expensive things, some less expensive things, let's say. So, you know, it was important to do this to bring it back to its roots of what it's meant to be. I would argue, as the curator last year, when we did it last year when you facilitated it, and then doing it again this year, I would hope that they will continue to do it. The other thing from a curation point of view is that we got everybody to not only figure out their takeaways and what they wanted to implement action when they get home, but we got them to send themselves a postcard with that. An old-fashioned postcard with a stamp. Everybody loves getting mail, although I heard that Canada Post might not be delivering to the doors anymore. Let's not get into that. I don't know.
Something you couldn't design for, right?
My goodness. I read this, I was like, oh no. You know, they'll have to get up and go to the PO box, whatever. But yeah, and so, but the thing is, and I'm sorry, everybody, don't get upset, but if you are, but the thing is, all those takeaways or all the notes on those papers is the content, is the frame, is the basis for what you should talk about next year.
Yeah.
So it gives you all the clues and all the insights that you need as a curator for the future years. It's a gift. So it's super smart and a lot of levels, and I love that. And that's really a sign of like good design, you know, because it ticks a lot of boxes all at once. And then also it allowed us to get back on stage, and that was my favorite part when I asked the guys, and they're like, yeah, sure. And then 2 weeks before, what are we doing?
Like, what did we sign up for?
Exactly. But I was like,
40%
don't worry,
winging
guys,
it.
it's easy. We just have to facilitate.
Well, the proof that it worked, and I'm just showing the picture here of that closing where you have everybody on stage after the human spectrographs, where people think about how easy or difficult it is to do a specific challenge, right? So all the notes on the brown paper there is basically what's on people's minds, right? And giving it up for adoption to your next door neighbor and having others talk about your challenge for what, 7-8 minutes at a time.
I'm
Is
curious what your feedback on the spectrogram or the human spectrogram or graph, whatever you call it, where
Yeah.
I don't feel like there was as much shifting this year as maybe there was last year. And maybe that's a sign that a lot of these complex challenges that people are going through in work and life, that we need to dive into it more next year. And like you said, you can use that as content to help drive the content for next year, to have keynotes, maybe those expert keynotes to address specific challenges. I think it's such an ingenious way to help drive education for the future and continue to connect all the events year after year.
Yeah, most of the change at events doesn't actually happen at the event. It's what happens as a result in between the events, right? So I think you guys, having seen, you know, now 8 different years of change for yourselves, but I remember last year there was a lot of first timers, right? Was it also half or more than half
It
last
was
year?
more than half. It was
Yeah.
wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whole new
So
generation
apparently you're
coming in.
getting not just a refresh of the people coming to this event, but there's also refresh happening in the industry itself.
Yeah.
And connecting, you know, the existing knowledge set to the new knowledge that's coming in is so critical, I think, for the whole field to develop, right? And I think kudos to Fredericton for picking up that glove, right? And kudos to you
LCD
guys for
events.
picking up the challenge of, you know, seeing something and replicating it and scaling it. The fact that it might have worked actually also proven that we've had a couple of people reach out and say, I want to do a solution with my event. How do I do that, right? So we see the impact of something that works, and people are curious to apply it in their own events. And to me, that's the best proof in the pudding, that there's something in this that people, that makes them tick, right? That makes them want to figure out how this is done. And it's not rocket science once you know how to do it, but it is nice to experience it and to see the impact of it, and then to see if you can scale it in a different way. I'm going to give each of you... Yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say, we always said with the event and the design, and Mary Frances referred to it, like, we don't want this to be perfect, because we want to try some things, and if it doesn't work, then we can show you don't have to try this at your conference. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I think this year a lot of things did work, but that's always been part of the risk.
I always feel like
designing
that
something new.
that imperfection makes it real in some way too. Like, if it's perfect, it's not real, it's not authentic. But we've never shied away from that, showing all of our warts. And it kind of adds to the feeling, like it's
Yeah.
just people are real, they show up, there's no business dress, it's people are in their jeans, and it's real connection and real education and real experience. So
And real karaoke with a real band, I heard.
Yeah.
Right?
That was the secret. That was what killed it at the end.
I think so.
And the
So I think shout out, was it to these guys amongst others? But
macaroons.
yeah,
we have one of the original, MPI the event glasses.
That's also an original. I love that they did that this year. That
Yeah.
was
Got
great.
it.
The
We've got the
MPI
branding.
Foundation picked this up, and
yeah.
that's
So Tim, I got a little story for you. I didn't actually tell you this yet, I don't think, but I was sitting on the plane flying out to Fredericton, and I was listening to a conversation beside me with someone clearly attending the event for the first time, and someone beside them they had never met. And they're like, "Oh, what brings you to Fredericton?" "Oh, I'm going to the event." And they're like, "Sorry, like what event?" They're like, "No, like the event." And it was a conversation. I didn't pretend that I was listening the whole time. I laughed so hard. And then like, "Well, that's kind of a weird name." She's like, "No, I think it's ingenious that it's the event." And so I wanted to share that with you. I haven't mentioned
Do
That's
you
it.
know
awesome.
how long it took us to figure out what we were going to call this thing?
yeah.
And
Well,
the
it was
debate
staring
of
you
the
in the
event.
face for the longest time, and then you decided to make it that, right? Now, I'm going to
Yeah.
hand each of you a magic baton, one at a time, and you can make one wish for the future of the event. For the horizon of change of the event, right? It's now a 7-year, 8-year-old. It's going into its teenage years. You're gonna have to start letting go even more, right, as it grows up further. What do you want the event to rebel with, or what do you want to see it do in the future? Let me throw the baton first, maybe over to Marie-France.
So hard. I have no prep time. Okay, what do I want for the event in the future? Well, I mean, I'll go with the obvious first because I really have no prep time. But I want it to really go national. I want it to go coast to coast over the next few years. And I really want each destination or host committee or whatever formulation that they come up with, and I think it can vary. I want them to really own it, just like Fredericton did, and make it their own and ask for forgiveness. Don't ask for permission. Um, and try new things. And also test some of our baked in assumptions or norms. So I just hope that people will keep that rebellious nature and use it as the creative sandbox that it was intended to be, and not worry about the numbers, I guess, a little bit. I mean, we need guardrails for good design and good thinking, but really to do that.
How about you, Ryan?
I've got a few. I think the one I'd like to see come back a little bit, but then evolve is more the design and mixing up the layout of the event and the programming. So it's not cookie cutter from every other conference that you go to. And MPI Global is tasked with a tough, they run conferences all over the world, so they've got a format that works. I just think the event can push that format a little bit and go back to things like the repeat sessions, the staggered breaks, and just changing up the format. And then also the partners. I want to see the partners come back and redesign the event like they had in the past, where you take over a breakout room or you take over a space and you make that part of the event yours. And so, one of the biggest I think successes I felt personally was when you were going to a breakout room and you weren't saying the breakout room, you weren't saying the name of the room, you were saying, "I'm going to Ottawa, I'm going to Quebec, I'm going to Tremblant." And it was so cool that you built that branding within 3 days. You built the branding into the layout.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I only went to one last year, and I already know, like, oh, the Tremblant room and this room, the Fredericton room, and it was super clear, and it was very correlated to the brand messaging of how that partner would, work the context of that room for whatever the function would be, like breakout or yeah, and that's a powerful thing to have come up with,
It's
but
more
also
value to the partners.
to build out, right? Yeah.
Totally. I miss that too.
Tim.
Yeah,
60% confidence, 40%. No, keep going.
no, along the same lines as Ryan and MF, like we really created this to push boundaries, and it's the hardest. I mean, it was hard for us, but we thought people would just jump in line and do it. It's the hardest thing that now that I've seen 8 editions of the event, it's hard to keep pushing and not to fall back to traditional conferences and things that we do every day and with every
Comfort zone.
event we attend. It's the hardest thing to keep pushing boundaries. I remember in the early days, some of the ideas we were like, what if we do this? And it was a crazy idea, and we just smile and we like, let's do it. Let's try it. Who cares if it works? Who cares if it fails? Let's do it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Except the floor map, you never let me do that.
Yeah,
Well, the
that's
floor
where the
map,
real magic
and I was
is.
gonna say, Ryan, I thought for sure you were gonna say that you'd love to see somebody rappel off the building into the event.
No,
And
that
if
was
it-
into
I mean, that has to
no.
happen. It has to be you. We won't
But
make
it's
you wear a
Okay.
bumblebee suit, but
But yeah, so that's the hardest thing because we continually see people try to do that, and then because of time or cost or planning resources, it's easy to scale back, and
yeah. But
it's hard to keep pushing.
I want to say something because Rachel Benedict said it, and I'm calling her out in this podcast, that she said to hold MPI to account.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And I think that that is the message for all our Canadian peers, industry folk who care about this event and love it and keep wanting keep wanting it to come back. Hold it to account and be that driver of like going out there. Don't let MPI slide into its comfort zone.
But I
Be
just
sad
want to
that they've taken
say,
over.
just to clarify,
Yeah,
it's MPI's. They've got the torch now to go with it, but it's not just an MPI challenge. It's a challenge with all events that
agreed.
it's easy to fall back.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think the role of, the leadership you guys took in the first couple of years to, to give birth to the event and then to foster it through the first number of years. I think the fact that, now there's a whole community that benefits from it, but MPI is the, let's say, torchbearer, like you say, but the local organizing committee, almost like, if it's like the Olympics, it's not the IOC that's going to do the opening of the Olympics in Los Angeles or in Brisbane. It's the local
Yeah.
group of people that pull together all the resources and originality from what it could be in that destination, given the parameters of what you want it to be or what it needs to do, right, as a function. And I think over 7, 8 editions, you've now made that really clear. And that's pretty phenomenal. I mean, what you guys have built, chapeau, right? Like, I commend you guys for doing that. I think MPI has done a great job of picking up the torch, right? Not easy. I was speaking to Drew Holmgreen yesterday, who will be on the podcast in a couple of weeks,
Oh, cool.
who has taken on a new role in a different organization. And sometimes when those big changes happen to you, you look back at things with a little bit of nostalgia. So I would also recommend listening to that episode we did with Drew on
Right.
site last year
Yeah.
and listening to some of his horizons of change as he went to, became the CEO of an organization and association in a completely different field and feeling how different the events are in different spaces, right? So I think there's so much opportunity and you guys are showing the way and inspiring others. So well done on that.
Can I just say as well, like it's cool to look over the 8 years, and we get a lot of the spotlight because we planted the seed. But there's just so many people. When you were mentioning Drew, I was thinking from Drew helping transition to MPI to at the start, the volunteers that trusted us blindly, to the destinations, to the partners. Like there's just so many people in
Long
this
list.
story that play a role. We get a lot of the spotlight because we planted the seed, but
Yeah.
it's kind of cool to I'm just thinking of this now as we're talking about it, all the people that have played a hand in this over the years. It's funny, I think it was in the opening session, the room was full, and I turned to Mary France and I said, isn't it cool that all these people are kind of here because of our little idea? Like we had nothing to do with the planning, and Fredericton brought them, and MPI did the programming. It was nothing to do with us, but it was our idea that kind of grew into this big tree that's growing up. So
there's something very cool and scary and nostalgic, and it's a mixed bag of letting go. This year I really felt like, well, I didn't curate it, so I definitely, maybe I was a little late to the game from these guys, but I finally let go of it in a big way as well. And I was like, huh, Interesting. And just to show up, you know what I mean? Be like, oh, how's it going? You know? Yeah,
And
super
that takes
exciting to
guts,
see
right,
that
to let
happen.
go. It's hard to let go, but you guys have done a great job of doing that. I think, like in the article, it says the event, community purpose, and Canadian pride. You can sense that, right? So you've been able
Mhm.
to rub that off on an organization that, is taking this at scale, and um, but your
Really
community
appreciate
is
it.
counting on the Canadian purpose, right? The Canadian community to
Yeah.
want to get together and to get together in this way. So,
One thing we haven't
um,
touched on, I think it's kind of the elephant in the room when MPI was coming into Fredericton and to help manage the Canadian event was we don't want Americans to come over and take over this Canadian concept, and they keep hitting that home. But I think this year more than other years, they really got to see the power of the Canadian event community, especially with that opening keynote, inspirational keynote on storytelling from Mike Downey. But the power of Canadians is different than the power of the Americans or the power of the European Congress. And so you have to
yeah,
embrace that and use that in when you're designing the event. And I think that was made very clear to them this year. And I could see their awe and excitement
yeah.
uh, in picking that up.
It's funny. I sensed that last year when I went to the event. We have this saying where we say, "Show me an organization's event, and I'll tell you about their culture." But
Mm-hmm.
I think if you blindfolded me and sent me to EMAC, the event, or WC, or a PCMA conference I'm going to in Rotterdam in 2 weeks, you can sense the difference in the culture. There's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
something there that's hard to put your finger on, but there's something in the culture that if you're able to harness that and cultivate it and prune that garden and the tree to its next season, right, to become like a perennial, then you're doing something right. And it doesn't survive by accident, for 8 years. Um, it's easily destroyed if handled wrong. That's the same thing. It's fragile. It's a fragile ecosystem.
Yeah.
But you guys have built a very strong kind of, DNA of it in a short amount of time. And yeah, it looks like, if I'm looking at this bunch of people on my screen here that I wasn't with, but I can almost like feel that when I see
Mm-hmm.
that group of people on that
That's cool.
stage,
Yeah.
I always say, right? Culture eats strategy for breakfast. So, I
totally.
mean, this
Yeah,
is proof in the pudding.
Cool. I've
exactly.
Yeah.
never heard
And I
that.
think
That's a good line.
that is a good line.
That'll be on
No, and
Tim's next
MPI
shirt.
really saw it, and I think what really gives me a lot of hope is that it's found a good home, a good stewardship that's gonna bring it forward, and they really get it. They saw it the first time last year, and this year I really feel like it's sunk in.
Yeah.
And even the article that Michael Pinchera kindly wrote, yeah, very much so. Like he really captured it, and that's nice. It's nice to see that.
I just
Yeah.
like to
He's got
say
a sharp
too,
pen
like
and
with MPI Global, I wouldn't say they got it right away, but they're
No.
open enough to learn from the experience of the event, and that's the secret. Like 2 years in a row now, it's kind of like they had an epiphany attending the event. Like, okay, day two now, we finally get what this is all about. So
yeah, and they've
Yeah.
let
and they've
them,
had, some staff changes. I know Laurie
yeah,
Pugh took it over
Yeah.
this year.
They
And she was
acknowledge
very
that too.
adamant to kind of, figure out, what is this thing? And I'm also trying to think about their role of what's it like when you run all of these different events and you have to adapt to the cultures of all these different,
yeah,
Mm.
organizing systems, and because it's such a volunteer-driven organization on paper, but at the end of the day, when the rubber hits the road, there needs to be a budget and there needs to be risk taking and there needs to
Yeah.
be stuff that needs to happen and decisions
yeah.
need to be made. Somebody has to be in charge, right? And that was you guys, and you
Mm.
guys have handed over the torch very elegantly, I think, to MPI.
And
And
they've
now it's on
embraced
them.
it, what it's meant to be, and you have to experience it to know what it's
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
And Rachel, who had come for the first time, I met her the first time at EMEC actually, but me saying aside, when I first started talking about the event, she was at EMEC, but
EMEC is the
really felt
European
that
Meetings and
like they
Events
have to
Conference.
experience it, and they're like, oh, we get it. I'm like, great,
Yeah.
and yeah, just get rid of that malaise of like being the parent that took over the kids event or whatever you want to call it. Like it's okay, Parents have like they're not going to be too strict. They're going to let us do what we want, sort of thing. And just roll with it and yeah.
Excellent.
They got it.
Quick last update, because we asked last year about your horizons of change, right? And we did, and that was a very short question. You might remember what you said, but I'm curious to hear what's currently on your horizon of change for the upcoming year, right? When you look ahead and look at the next mountain that's coming your way, what's currently on your horizon of change, Tim?
Oh, I'm not thinking of the year ahead. I'm 1 week out from my second ultra marathon. So
Oh,
next
Amazing.
Saturday I'm running a 50K race. So that's as far as my mind's thinking right now.
wow.
It's a
Okay.
double marathon. That's
Good
wild.
luck with that. I think it's another, birth or pregnancy. I think you called it last time.
It's gonna hurt.
We're with you, and we hope that the 50K will go according to your plans.
I hope so.
Ryan, what's on your horizon of change for the upcoming?
Well, I'm in a good state right now. I said the family steady. I'm not running marathons.
Playing a
I
lot
don't
of
know. I
golf.
think I had to tie it back to the future. I'm a proud Canadian. I think back to my day job here with Hilton and the growth in the country. We just hit 200 hotels. So I think there's a lot of change
Wow.
coming to Canada for Hilton specifically. And I'm excited because I'm right in the thick of that and able to dabble in the event and that all at the same time. So just focus on growth in Canada.
Awesome. Marie-France, what's on your horizon of change?
Well, I'm continuing. I'm sure, I can't remember what I said, but I'm sure I said something about an expansion project. I've been talking about that for a while. Yeah, he's nodding. I know. I'm
Expansion
so
project to
consistent.
Switzerland. You had some changes in the professional environment and your personal environment.
Well, the expansion project is coming full circle. I started a new job with MDPI, which is an academic publisher, and I'm running the teams in North America and in Europe. So I was just in Toronto, visiting the Toronto office, which means I get to come back to Canada. When
This
I need
horizon of change for this conversation could get really awkward really quick, but
That's it, right? Um, no,
let's see how
to
truthful
say
she is.
that my job is facilitating my expansion of being able to go back and forth to Canada as we expand events out there and still continue to settle into Europe as I do more events here. And Europe is becoming more and more home. I'm starting to feel it more and more. I really missed the wine and the cheese last time I went to visit. So
Yeah.
it's
But now you get to combine your
we have
professional
wine and
and
cheese.
your, yeah.
We have wine and cheese in Niagara.
Oh, Niagara, you're right. I was in the wrong province. It's a lot of craft beer. I don't like the beer as much.
Yeah. Well, it was a treat to hang out with all three of you. We don't always get to spend a lot of time together like this online. But thank you for sharing the story about your experience of the event, being part of the solution room in the closing, having this edition take place
I
in
want to say one more
Fredericton.
thing though.
Yeah.
I hope it's not the end. I just want to say one more thing that I love creating with these guys so much, whether it's trying to come up with a new event or a keynote talk or a podcast or anyways, but I hope I'm really looking forward to the next project. So I'm just gonna put that out there.
I think that's
I'm
MS
planting another
official.
seed.
That's her planting the seed for the three of us want to do another education session of some sort, and it's got to be something new and fancy. And whatever she comes up with, we're just going to say yes. So
Yeah.
Well, it's out there and for everyone to hear. Thank you for being part of this. Look at those links in the show notes if you're listening to the audio version. We also have a little video version where you can see some of the photos of it. We're going to wrap this up in a little newsletter on LinkedIn. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We're going to share it with those that went to the event and with the community of event designers, as well as our friendly folks at MPI. So we all know what's expected of them in the future and of each other. But I encourage the event to carry on for many, many years. And thanks for creating it. The
Thanks to
power of
everybody who's going to
gathering
carry
has
it
happened.
forward.
Sorry?
Thanks to the future people carrying it forward.
Right, totally. Thank you for this edition, and we look forward to speaking to you soon again.
thank you.
Thanks.
You've been hanging out backstage on Design to Change Designer Conversations. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe and share conversations online using hashtag Design to Change and hashtag Event Canvas. Want more thought-provoking content like this? Visit designtochange.online to purchase your copy of Design to Change, elevating your abilities to look and act beyond the now. Don't forget, it's more than just a book. Experience a hard copy, audio format, video format, and even augmented reality. Experience it in your style and format. Tune into our next episodes and hear from more designers and change makers. Until then, we look forward to our next conversation.
Conversation.